What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 team building video, and today we're taking a look at Calyrex Shadow and Zacian. So in my previous video I was asked, Clover, how would you try and build Calyrex Shadow and Zacian? Okay, and I said, you know what? That might be the topic for the next video, and here we are today. So I always tell people this, I'm not really a Calyrex Shadow kind of guy, right? It's just not my style. It's more hyper offensive, and it's just not the way I like to play. If you've noticed the way I like to build my teams, I like to go slower and bulkier, and a little bit more pivot action and a little bit more core based. I very rarely go OHKO and go zoom, but if I had to show someone how to build it and use it, I'll show them this. And before I get any questions, is there going to be a Porygon Z here? The question is no. I mean, the answer is no. I'm gonna save that for probably February, I would say, but at the very least I can show something that's a little bit more consistent and reliable, at least in the early meta, right? So we've got Calyrex, we've got Zacian. So how do we want to pair these two, and what are we going to put with it? So I think Whimsicott is always the first option here. All right, and a lot of you know that Whimsicott is just not my fairy type. I always like to use a Grimmsnarl for just because it's good. Grimmsnarl is always relatively solid. So there's that. And then from here, I just made it a little bit bigger. What I'm thinking now is, okay, we've got Calyrex, we've got Zacian. We're gonna have a fairy move on Zacian, so this way we can stop, the Yveltals, and Whimsicott can also help out with that a little bit. But now the Incineroars and whatnot. So one thing that I like to use on these hyper offensive teams with Calyrex and Whimsicott is Thundurus, believe it or not. Yeah, because the thing is, Thundurus is so good on this kind of team, especially when you have like the Assault Vest and a Dark move, because Thundurus, not only do you put pressure on Yveltal, you put pressure on Incineroars, which gives Calyrex and Zacian a hard time, right? So you're forcing your opponent to not bring their Incineroar, and you also give Landorus a little bit of a tougher time. Landorus can win the matchup a little bit, but at the risk of giving you +1, it may not be worth it on their end. So yeah, I really like the AV Thundurus here. And if you have a dark move, you go for a max darkness play, and then you drop special defenses, and then Calyrex can just come in from the back and click Astro Barrage when everything is -1, and then just sweep from there. So I always like Thundurus on this kind of team. All right, and then from here, I do like this mod, Cinderace. Yeah, this is the one kind of team where I think Cinderace can do really, really well. And you might think, Cinderace? We haven't seen that thing since like Series 9 or something like that, or Series 11 when Bars made a team with Cinderace and Kyogre Tailwind. And that's actually where I got the idea, and just to round out the rest of the team here, we are going to use the male Indeedee. And basically this is almost like a Bars inspired kind of team, where he also had the Whimsicott, he had the Cinderace, he had the Indeedee. I think in the Thundurus place he had like a Regieleki, if I recall. Yeah, I mean, I played against Bars' team so many times in my videos, with his Kyogre and Cinderace and male Indeedee shenanigans with the Whimsicott. I figured, you know what, I think we can borrow a couple of pages from Bars' book here and have the male Indeedee here, because the idea here, I'm gonna put Psychic Surge here, is this is gonna have Imprison Trick Room, so you can shut down Trick Room teams that wanna stop your Tailwind Airstream actions, right? So the male Indeedee is really, really nice, and again, another mon that can capitalize off of special defense drops. And the thing is, Cinderace can also put a lot of pressure on those Sun teams, like especially with Groudon and Zacian, because you have a lot of stab moves that can destroy those teams, and because of Libero, those moves become very hard hitting because they become stab. So this is the 6, so we might as well just go ahead and reveal the GIF right here right now. So we got the Thundurus, we have the Indeedee male, we have the Cinderace, we have the Whimsicott. All right, so this is the 6. It's a very hyper offensive core. So now let's just take a look at how we are going to do the EVs for this kind of team. Okay, so starting with the Calyrex Shadow here. So with something like this, you can do a few options. You can go like choice specs, where you're not really opting to max the Calyrex, and you're more so either maxing the Thundurus or the Cinderace, you can max the Calyrex. And I'm the kind of person, I don't really want to max this thing. I want to max either the Thundurus or the Cinderace here. Now you can max the Calyrex because Max Phantasm will drop defenses, and Zacian just cleans up from the back, and so does Thundurus and Cinderace for that matter. So you can max the Calyrex, and for that reason I think Life Orb is just a little bit better on this. And then we'll just go with like a solid moveset here with Astro Barrage, Expanding Force, just something for the a little bit of Psychic Spam with the male Indeedee here. And then Mud Shot I think is very important for Max Quake, especially good for removing Incineroars. And then finally Protect. Sorry, no nasty plot. Thumbs down on the video. No nasty plot. No greedy Clover Tech. Okay. Zacian, same idea here. So Behemoth Blade, and then from here we are gonna have 3 attack moves and Protect. So the reason being is you're gonna go Adamant and we're gonna go Zoom. We don't need no setup moves. We don't have time to set up. Okay, we just want to hit hard and hit fast. So I'm gonna go Sacred Sword and I'm gonna go Play Rough, and this is good against like the opposing Yveltals, the opposing Palkias that are running around. So we do need that fairy coverage. Whimsicott is just not going to be enough. So I think we are correct here in running Play Rough. Whimsicott, so the Sash is going to be on the male Indeedee, which means the Whimsicott is going to get something else. You could run a few things. You could run those berries if you want, but I think it's fine if you run something like either Mental Herb, or if you run something like Eject Button, where if you have Sucker Punch on the Cinderace, you can just get rid of their max. But I'm not really the best of one ladder cheese person. If you want the Eject Button, you can, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do Mental Herb. Okay, I don't want to get taunted. We are gonna go just pretty straightforward here. Tailwind, Moonblast, Helping Hand, and Protect here. Now you can give up Protect because in case they want to fake you out, you can just always swap in the male Indeedee, and you can get something else here like, I don't know, Taunt, or Whimsicott, or even like Fake Tear support. Whimsicott gets so many moves here, but if you like Protect, you can go with Protect. But I think on this kind of team, maybe you can give it up, but I'll think a little bit more when I actually try and make the rental code. But for now, Protect is always good. This is VGC. Okay, so we did mention the Assault Vest on the Thundurus here. So very standard set here with Wild Charge, Fly. Alright, so Max Lightning, Max Airstream, and Max Lightning is really good, especially against Venusaur's shenanigans. But again, you can always just KO it with Max Airstream. But you're not as strong as the Life Orb Thundurus, so maybe you might want to just zap it first just to be safe, and then hit him with the Airstream. From here, I like Brick Break as my fighting move if I don't have a Grimmsnarl on my team. So Brick Break can break opposing Grimmsnarl screens, which I think is important, especially in this kind of meta where Dynamax is running around, and all these double restricteds are hitting hard, and teams are bringing Grimmsnarl to get up that screen support to mitigate those damage. You just click Brick Break and you remove their damage reduction, right? And then the dark move of choice, it's up to you. There's options for Foul Play. This is good against mons that want to proc their weakness policy and then just KO them right back. You can run Lash Out. So this way, when they intimidate you, your damage gets doubled, and then you can just dominate from there. Or you can run this one, which is Crunch. This is the one that I'm going to be using. And I like Crunch better than the other two. I think it's just slightly more consistent. But again, if you want any of the other two, they are perfectly fine. It is all personal preference for the player. But I like Crunch. Okay, this is the move that KOs Calyrex Shadow. Foul Play, Lash Out, I don't think that KOs, and we'll take a look at the damage calc, but I know Crunch for a fact is the preferred one, at least for me. Alright, Cinderace. So Life Orb is here. Thundurus has the AV, so here actually we're just gonna go White Herb. Never underestimate White Herb. If you lead Thundurus, Cinderace, that's very, very good, because if they lead Incineroar like a fool, trying to respect Calyrex Shadow, now your Thundurus is +1 and your Cinderace is still normal because you had the White Herb. So of course we're gonna have Pyro Ball. Alright, that's our stab move. We are going to have max Airstream on this, you know, might as well, right? I think Sucker Punch is really good. Again, another max Darkness user for Calyrex Shadow. And then finally, I think we want, not Iron Head, there's another, oh, the High Jump King, the fighting move. Yeah, so when you're Dynamax, you can go for Airstreams to increase the speed of these mons, or you can go for Max Knuckle to help Thundurus or Zacian hit even harder, right? Give them attack boost. So yeah, there's always that. And Thundurus can do the same thing. Brick Break becomes Max Knuckle. You can make your Cinderace hit harder, or you can make your Zacian hit harder. So there's a lot of good synergy on this team. Alright, and then the male Indeedee, this is going to have the Focus Sash here. Alright, and there's no follow me here, but again, the key is the Imprison and the Trick Room. So this is the mon you're going to be bringing in those Trick Room matchups and potentially leading. Alright, so here, of course, we're going to go Expanding Force. And then here you have a couple other options. I still like Helping Hand. But if you want yet another fairy move, you can go for Dazzling Gleam. But we have two fairy moves on the Zacian and the Whimsicott already. But I do like Helping Hand as another option. I wonder if this thing gets Shadow Ball. Oh, Energy Ball is kind of cool. That could be cool for Kyogre. Alright, but I think it's okay in terms of what we have right now. Yeah, it doesn't really get that many great moves. But yeah, I think a Helping Hand is totally fine. But yeah, so we got the moves and we got the items. Perfect. Now let's just quickly do our EVs. So a lot of this is going to be straightforward. I think only the complicated one is either the Zacian or the Thundurus. But Calyrex, we're going to go Timid. We're going to max our speed here. And again, I always like to optimize my Life Orb. So we're just going to go 179 in our HP and then the rest in special attack. So remember, when you have this much and you're ending in a number of 9, because you lose 1/10 of your HP with Life Orb, you're optimizing your HP. So this way you have a little bit of bulk, and you're not taking as much as you would from Life Orb. So 179 divided by 10 is 17.9, and 17.9 rounds down to 17. So that's how you optimize it, right? Because if I broke the threshold and went to 180, now I'm taking 18 damage per turn. Alright, so I don't want to break the threshold, I just want to keep it in the 17s, right? So there's our optimized Life Orb Calyrex Shadow. Okay, Zacian. So the Zacian, we can go Adamant here, and we can go a little bit slower because we have the Whimsicott, right? So I do like Adamant Zacian, and I always like to go to 191 here. This is just for a little bit more optimized HP for the weather damage. And in terms of the speed here, I think I still like my 204 speed because this is going to put Zacian at 194. And if you do a little bit of math, 194 after a +1 Airstream boost goes to 291. So you're faster than Venusaur and the Sun, and I think that's important. And then from here, you can just go up to the first bump, which is right here, 76 attack investment. And then, you know, you can try and split the bulk in the special defense and defense. But I'm just going to go to 92 here. This way I hit just as hard as a Jolly Zacian. And then now I can split up the rest of my bulk into something like this. All right, Whimsicott, again, this one is also kind of straightforward, although we're not going to put it in special attack. It's not where Whimsicott has its value. We are going to max its speed though, so that's one thing. But for the special attack, we can go something like this. But I'm just going to do something a little bit different and do it like this. So the HP 166, right? So what does 166 give me? With hail damage and sand damage, nothing really. It's not optimized, but it doesn't matter because we're just going to add bulk on this Whimsicott here. Alright, and that's really all we need. You know, just a little bit of bulk. We don't really need special attack, it's fine. I just need it to survive at least maybe 1 or 2 hits. And we're okay. Alright, Thundurus, this is the one where we had some of the calcs, and I think we're gonna keep using our Series 11 Thundurus. There was quite a few calcs there. And I'll show it again in this video, but we are gonna max speed this thing. We're gonna add a little bit of bulk on our Thundurus here. Alright, again, that 166 mark. And some attack. And from here, just an even number in our special defense. So this way, we get the best bang for our buck with the Assault Vest, right? So this way it's a whole number after 1.5. Okay, so there's our Thundurus spread. Cinderace, this one is also straightforward. There's no life orb here. So we're just going to go 252 and then also 252, and then that's it in the special defense. And we are going to be Jolly. Okay, so I think that's okay as well. And then again, since this Indeedee is also sashed, again, this is a hyper offensive team. We're supposed to hit hard and hit fast. So max speed, max special attack, and then just 1 point in the special defense. And 105 special attack is kind of cool, especially after a -1 special defense drop. So Expanding Force is going to hit like a truck, so don't underestimate the damage of male Indeedee. Alright, so yeah, I think this is it. Let's just go ahead and show the Pokepaste real quick. And just eyeball it for a second. And yeah, I kind of like it. You know, if there was a HO team that I had to use, I'd probably use something like this. You know, if I had to use Calyrex Zacian. But there must be a Porygon Z at some point later in the format, and I will make that later. But for now, this is a solid, consistent. It does what it needs to do. You have some good max options. But yeah, let's just take a look at a couple of damage calcs. There isn't too many. I do want to show you at least the Thundurus one, because this is the one with the EV spreads here. That's not 252, 252 really. The Zacian has a couple of calcs, but it's not really that much. It's just meant to outspeed Venusaur in the sun after +1, and it's just meant to be bulking the HP mark. So let's just quickly show Thundurus's calcs. Okay, so the main thing that we're going to really look at is the Thundurus calcs, because most things are like, you know, 252, 252, and it's really mostly the Thundurus that we have the EV investment for, and the Zacian, but we've shown the Zacian in the other video. So today I just want to look at the Thundurus. So one thing that you have to consider is Landorus, right? Because Landorus can technically win that 1v1 matchup, because yes, he'll give you Defiant, but you can't really hit it so hard because you have no Max Lightning to really do anything, and your Airstream is only neutral. So, you know, and Landorus has a Rock move, which is Max Rockfall, and if they're Life Orb variant, you're in trouble. But can you live a Landorus Rockfall with our investment? Let's take a look here. So, standard Landorus Dynamax can only do at max 75%, right? But if they're Life Orb, and this is the important thing, let's see if you live. And you do live, so 97.8. So you can survive the Landorus Life Orb Max Rockfall if need to, right? And of course, you'll be +1 when you max as well, and then you can go for, you know, your own Airstream. And again, you see what I mean? You know, Landorus can win this matchup because you're not really doing that much damage into the Landos. So even though you have a +1 Airstream, sometimes you might not even do half. And this is only a 252, 252 Landorus, you know, with no bulk investment. So you have to be careful here with this matchup. But at the very least, if he goes for Rockfall and you go for Airstream, you know, you're technically now faster. I mean, but you are always faster to begin with. But yeah, just, you know, keep this in mind when you're going against Landorus. So yes, you can survive the Rockfall, but again, he's Life Orb and he can just kill you next turn. So just be aware of this. The next thing I do want to show you is Groudon, right? Another ground type with a rock move. So if it's the normal Citrus Groudon with like first EV bump 76 attack investment, again, their Rockfall is doing about 76% at max. If they're second bump Groudon, then you have, you know, then it's up to 80%. And if they're, for whatever reason, max attack Groudon, then you're fine. It's doing about 85%. This is again, you know, I don't know too many people running max attack Groudon, but if they are, then this is it. Okay. The next thing you want to look at is the combo of Regieleki and Kyogre, right? Because, you know, technically Thundurus can just go for Max Lightning into Kyogre, but if the Regieleki clicks Electro Web, the Kyogre is now faster and can go for Water Spout. Can you survive that combination? Let's take a look. So Regieleki, let's go with a standard Eleki set. Okay, Transistor Magnet, right? So if he goes for Electro Web, that does at most 15%, right? And this is while you're max. What about a Kyogre with Mystic Water? Let's say the Kyogre maxes, right? So here's the Water Spout. So first of all, the Water Spout plus Electro Electro Web is not going to kill you. But if he maxes the Kyogre, all right, he's doing about 70, just under 78%, man. Let's just max my special attack here, right? So he's doing about 78%. So 78 plus 15. All right, so about 93%, right, at max, assuming he high rolls everything. Okay, so then you're going to live, and then you're just going to one-shot this Kyogre, because then you're +2 after he clicks Electro Web. And again, this is a standard Kyogre. All right, no bulk investment, but yeah, so you can survive the Electro Web and the Max Geyser combination from a Kyogre. And these are all calcs worth noting, right? You survive the Landers, you survive a Groudon, and you survive a Kyogre. Okay, so those are the important ones. I mean, let's take a look at Calyrex Shadow, I guess, because that's also the one that we're meant to counter. Let's go with a standard Calyrex Shadow set. So Max Phantasm, all right, and that's only doing about 52% at max. And then, you know, you always have that dark move, which is Crunch. Okay, so Crunch, and again, this is Max Darkness, and oh wait, that's not it. So Max Darkness, again, you have that shot to KO when it's Dynamax. Not a huge shot, but a shot. But the thing is, you have to remember that if this is Life Orb Calyrex, he's taking Life Orb chip, right? And then that combined with this damage investment will more than likely be enough to kill. You know, he might live on 1 if you low roll it, right? But that with the Life Orb chip is enough. So those are the calcs worth noting. So yeah, that's the Thundurus. The rest, you know, not too worth mentioning. But now let's take a look at how the team fares in a few Sampa battles. Okay, so this is a Dialga Groudon matchup. I kind of like Dialga and Groudon on the same team, and he has a Galarian Articuno to reject Intimidate, but I don't have any of that here, so I don't think that comes in. I think he has to bring the Incineroar to respect the Calyrex Shadow, and I think he does bring the Dialga and the Groudon, and then from there it could be any one of these. Maybe the Rillaboom to change terrain if I bring the Indeedee, but other than this, I think it's fine. I think I should just lead the Thundurus and the Cinderace with the Calyrex and the Zacian in the back. All right, so here we go. He goes Dialga and Incineroar. All right, so he's getting punished right away because first of all, again, Defiant, +1, and Cinderace has the White Orb. So now I can just Dynamax the Thundurus here and just go ham. Now he does fake out the Cinderace, so you know I was also wondering, like, should I max the Cinderace or should I go for the Thundurus? But Max Knuckle does a lot into Incin, and then if I can remove that, then the Zacian and the Calyrex are relatively safe. So that was my goal here. He has a Wiki Berry, which is interesting, and for some reason he goes for Steel Spike into an Electric type. I don't know why he did that, but he goes into Groudon here. I go for the high jump kick into the Dialga. I connect, and it does so much damage after +1. And there's another Knuckle. I don't need to go into Airstreams here because, you know, I'm already faster than everything he has. So yeah, so he does crit the Steel Spike, but again, I'm still fine. He protects the Groudon, which is also okay. I go for a Pyro Ball thinking that could have killed, but I guess it didn't. Dialga is relatively thick, probably because it has a +2 defense mark. There's another Steel Spike, so he's just boosting up his defenses against my physical attackers. But again, you know, this is very easy because I can just remove the Groudon like this with a Pyro Ball and then break the Dialga like that. And now he doesn't really have so much because everything I have is faster and we hit hard, and he has no choice but to click forfeit there. So that was a relatively easy one where the Thundurus and the Cinderace can just take over with something like that. But yeah. Okay, so this is one of those Kyogre Trick Room teams, and I know because there's a Porygon here, and he has the Ferrothorn endgame, which is always scary, and of course there is a dog on that team, that's a Zacian. So with the Trick Room teams, you know, you have to bring the Indeedee here, right, because you have to respect it. So he does have Incin, and he might try to lead Incin P2, because at least the Incin can put pressure on the Calyrex, right? So my goal is to, again, lead the Thundurus, which is always safe, because I can put pressure on the Incin, I can put pressure on the P2 because of my fighting move, and of course Max Lightning into Kyogre is not very pleasant, right? So Thundurus with the male Indeedee lead is always good because then I can neutralize the Trick Room if he does bring it, and then just have the Calyrex in the back along with the Zacian, and I think that's okay. So let's see what he decides to bring. So there's my Thundurus, there's my male Indeedee.
here's the Kyogre and here's the Incin. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about here. So the Incin just gives me +1 here, and now I have a +1 Max Lightning into Kyogre, or I have a +1 Max Knuckle into Incin, right? And again, I can choose to either remove the Kyogre right here, right now, or I can put pressure on the Incin by, you know, going for Max Knuckle here. And whatever he has in the back, which is probably the Zacian, I would imagine. You know, I don't know if Zacian wants to take a +1 Max Knuckle, but I do have the Indeedee here, and I'm faster than the Kyogre, so I can always chip it with the Expanding Force. All right, and what's also cool with the Thundurus Indeedee lead is I can go for Max Darkness, drop SpDef, Special Defenses, I should say, and then just go for the Expanding Force play, right? So in the end, I decided, so he goes into his own Thundurus. So I max my Thundurus, and I go for the Airstream instead, you know, just to make my Indeedee faster than the Kyogre. And there's my Expanding Force, and he goes for Darkest Lariat, but again, I have a Focus Sash, so that's always good. So here's another Airstream. We removed the Incin, which is good. Yeah, that's good for my Calyrex, and that's good for my Zacian. And then we just remove the Thundurus here, and you know, all he has is a Kyogre that's slower than my Indeedee and my Thundurus. And even if it's Zacian, all you have to do is just potentially chip it, and the Calyrex can just end the game from there. So yeah, he had nothing for this, which is why I thought it was safe. So let's look at another one. Okay, so this is one of those games. Oh, so this is the Sun matchup, right? So again, Thundurus has to come in the lead because again, you put pressure on the Charizard, you put pressure on the Venusaur, and you force them to not lead Incineroar, right? Because they have to almost lead it with the Calyrex, because you know you have to respect it, right? Because if I just lead the Calyrex plus something, it's bad news. So I feel like the Thundurus and the Cinderace lead has to come here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And let's see what he decides to do in response. I think he does lead the Groudon. Yeah, he does. And there's the Zard. So, you know, the Thundurus can put immediate pressure on the Charizard, and he has no switch in to a Max Lightning. The only thing is, you know, he could protect, he could switch it out. But again, because he led it with the Groudon, he can't really pivot my electric attack into a ground type Pokemon, I should say. So I can still technically max this Thundurus, but I don't expect him to just leave the Charizard out here like this. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna max the Cinderace this game and boost my Thundurus with Airstreams and Max Knuckles. And you know, I have the fire boosted move with the Pyro Ball, so I might as well take advantage of it. Alright, so I maxed the Cinderace. It's a G-Max Cinderace. And he actually maxes the Charizard, which is unbelievable because I could have just maxed that Thundurus and just ended the game from there. But I deal good chip damage with the Wild Charge, and he does get his Wildfire off. But again, that's fine. So he is Life Orb. And the Groudon decides to go for the Swords Dance. But let me show you why that's bad. Because I chipped everything, right? Which is what I wanted. And now the Groudon and the Zard are almost below half health. And now this is what happens, because now you bring in the Calyrex, and now he's in big trouble because the Calyrex can just go for Astral Barrage and kill everything here. And even if he has Incineroar in the back, I still have a G-Max Cinderace. So if he does pivot into Incineroar now, it doesn't really matter because, you know, I have a Cinderace that can put pressure, and I also have Zacian in the back. Okay, so he does go into Incineroar. So he does drop Cinderace, but again, I do have the White Herb, and that's twice now that the White Herb has come in handy. So there's the Astral Barrage. We remove the Charizard, and now the Cinderace, again, now we have Airstream. So now we're just really fast. Now we're faster than Zacian if he does have it. But again, he has the Zapdos. So he brought the Charizard, he brought the Groudon, he brought the Zapdos, and he brought the Incin. So he didn't even bring the Zacian. Alright, so now this is relatively easy because now we just click Astral Barrage, and although Incineroar can resist it, not from that range because we're already +1, now we're +2, and there's the G-Max Fireball, and that does a lot in the Sun to Zapdos even behind Protect. And now all you have to do is just click the funny button called Astral Barrage, and there's nothing here that wants to take it. I mean, Protect just delays the inevitable, as you see in the chat. I'm telling him to say his final words. I'm doing it for the video. Alright, but there's the Fireball. Of course, he's just gonna quit before that. So again, the combination of Thundurus and Cinderace, you know, is very, very strong. It's good against Sun teams. It's good against Incineroars. And you know, they may lead poorly because they have to respect the Calyrex Whimsicott lead, right? Almost. So there's that. Let's take a look at one more game. Okay, so this is another Sun team, but this is with Dialga again. Dialga Groudon. So I kind of like his thing. I could totally see this working with like Dusclops, Incin, and then he probably has like weakness policy and then bulldoze on the Dusclops, and I think that's kind of cool if he does have it. And then of course there's an electric type with Regieleki. So yeah, but again, I do lead the Thundurus here, and because he has the Dusclops, again, one of my rules is I have to lead the male Indeedee just to respect the Trick Room. So I go with the Thundurus and I go with the Indeedee, and he goes with Dialga and he goes with Regieleki. So this is an interesting lead. But what I have a few options here. I can just go straight for Airstreams, but then I don't want to do that just in case this Dialga has Trick Room, and I have no idea, right? This is Showdown. It's not a tournament. I have no sheet. I have no team sheets. What I can also do is go for Max Darkness, drop the special defenses, and then just go for hard hitting Expanding Forces, right? So there's that. So that's exactly what I decided to do. All right, so he maxes the Dialga, and he actually pivots his Regieleki out. He goes into Incineroar, so that's a very good play. That's probably a very good read as well. But again, he does give me the +1, and there's the Max Darkness. That was a very interesting turn. I could have just murdered him with the Airstream, but he goes for Hailstorm and does about half. But again, everything here is -1 special defense. But again, I do want to remove the Incin, so this way the Calyrex and the Zacian can come in freely. We do get the crit, but I don't think it matters because I was +1. And honestly, I don't think I needed to go for the Helping Hand. But again, I wasn't sure if +1 Airstream from that range was enough to remove the Incineroar, you know, because I have attack investment, but not that much. So I decided to, you know, just play it safe and go for the Helping Hand play. But I don't know if I needed to, but I wanted to be sure. But I also should have accounted for Hail Chip. Because even if you survive by a sliver of health, then at the very least that would finish off the Incin, and then I could have just went for Expanding Force and dealt more damage into Dialga that way. But anyway, we removed the Incineroar. That's what matters. I go into Calyrex and he goes into Groudon. I thought that was honestly a mistake here, because if he just goes into Regieleki, he honestly just wins, because then he can just click Electro Web, and then the Dialga can pretty much finish the game. So I'm surprised he went into Groudon here, especially after killing my Max. I really thought he should have brought out Regieleki here, because then, you know, that would have won the game. I can't stop Electro Web unless he misses, so I'm very surprised that he didn't go for it. But he gives me a chance with the Groudon here, so I very much thank him for that. He goes for Protect for some reason. So there's another Expanding Force play. From both my Indeedee and my Calyrex, and for some reason he goes for Max Quake. I have no idea why he didn't go for Steel Spike, especially because he's Life Orb and not even Weakness Policy. But yeah, there's the Expanding Force. We removed the Dialga, and now we remove the Groudon because it's single target, and now we're +1. And now all he has is a Regieleki, so this pretty much guarantees me the game because I have Zacian in the back. And again, so there's the Electro Web, so he kills both, and I really thought he should have brought in the Aleki instead of the Groudon, and that would have allowed him to probably win this game. Yeah, so I know my Zacian can live this double up here. This is a mistake. I should have just clicked Sacred Sword. That one-shots the Aleki, but you know, I think he's Sash either way, so it probably didn't matter. But he does go for the Thunderbolt. He doesn't kill because I'm a bulky Zacian, and we just finish him off with a Behemoth Blade. So yeah, I really think he should have brought in the Aleki instead of the Groudon, because, you know, I can't outspeed it with the Calyrex, so there's that. But yeah, at the very least, we got to show off how the team works. We used Thundurus a lot. We maxed it most games. We maxed the Cinderace one game. We didn't max the Calyrex, but you know, Calyrex and Zacian, you really want to max too much. You want them to come in the back and finish the game. Same thing with the Zacian. This is the first game where we brought the Zacian to clean up here. There'll be many games where you have to do that. Where after your Calyrex or Zacian have to clean up for each other after your max of Thundurus or Cinderace is done. And that's really how you played the team. Alright, so let's just go ahead and look at the Pokepaste one last time. Okay, so this is it. Yeah, so this is our Calyrex Zacian squad. Again, I don't like the combo that much. I think it's a good one. I think it's like a B tier combo to me. I just think that because it's, you know, so hyper offensive, you don't have too many defensive pivot options, and you know, in a best of 3 tournament, it may come back to bite you in that regard. I kind of like defensive Calyrex teams. Like Calyrex Groudon is good. Calyrex Groudon Sun teams are very good, and that's one of my favorite ones. Calyrex Zacian, yeah, all right, it's okay. I think it's good. This kind of team with Thundurus instead of the Alecki. You could do another variation of this with the Regieleki instead of the Thundurus. You can go something like, Spell Tag Calyrex and then Life Orb Regieleki, and then the Alecki can be the Dynamax option, right? And you can make it physical Alecki with like Airstreams or whatnot. Or you can go the Rising Voltage Hyper Beam route. So if you want the Regieleki in the Thundurus slot, I think that's fine. But the Thundurus and the Cinderace just work so well together. And you saw my Thundurus Indeedee lead, that was also pretty cool. And just having that option to go for that dark move, and then just drop Spidef where the Calyrex can just clean up in the back is always really, really nice. Now, can you do that with the Alecki? Yes, because it has assurance. But still, I think the Thundurus punishes Incineroars a lot, and you saw it in our videos, right? How many games did they bring the Incineroar and we bring the Thundurus? We won all the games that they did that. So that's the thing, because they have to bring the Incin to respect the Calyrex, right? So then you have the Thundurus to discourage that, and now your opponent is stuck, because if he doesn't bring the Incineroar, then he just loses to Calyrex and plus something, right? So that's the main thing with teams like this. You put on so much offensive pressure that the opponent has to play really, really well and position well and stall your max. Otherwise, you can just steamroll them in a few turns like we did in this video. So let me know what you think of this Calyrex Zacian team. We'll be back with another squad, another team building video in the next one. Have a good one.